Atlanta, where the Astros have played before. I believe it was called Turner Field back then, and the Astros took care of business, I believe, or maybe they didn't. But here they have opportunity to do it again. They've got to get one, maybe two games in Atlanta to go ahead and win the World Series and get the games home back to Houston. And we'll talk to Jake again from the Locked On Braves podcast. And I'm excited about this show. I'm excited about getting a couple games on the road in Atlanta. And let's talk about it on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
All right, and we got a special guest. If I butcher your name, I apologize. But we got Jake Mastriani from the Locked On Braves podcast. Where can you find you at?
Yeah, so you can find me over at Locked On Braves. You can follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. You can follow me on Twitter at ShortstopBall.
Alrighty, so I'm excited about the show. I'm excited about the rest of this series. And I guess we both predicted that, Jake, you and I both predicted that it would be 1-1 going to Atlanta. I think we both predicted, I think you predicted they would win the first game, and I predicted that they would win, the Braves would win first game. I think I predicted the Astros win the first game. So we both kind of got to the same spot, just different situation. But thank you guys for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube, keep on subscribing, whether it's the audio version, keep on subscribing via Apple or listening to Spotify. If you're a Braves fan, keep on subscribing via Apple, keep on listening to Spotify. Make the Locked On Braves, if you even like that team, make them your first listen every day.
Of course you do.
Yeah, whatever, Jake. We don't want to hear it, but keep on making us your first listen every day. And guys, it would be the best. This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Download the app and join us this week. I'm sure Jake's going to do an episode this week. We're probably going to do one before game 3, and we'll talk about the lineup and what's just on Dusty's mind. And Spotify Green Room, it's changing the way we talk about sports. So it's raining over in Georgia. Is it going to be raining game time? Do you know, Jake?
Yeah, it's about a 50% chance of rain. It's been really dreary here all day today, really windy as well. So I don't necessarily know that the game is in jeopardy, but definitely could be some rough conditions tomorrow night.
Yeah, we saw the rain kind of hamper the ALDS schedule a little bit with the Houston Astros when they were in Chicago. And, there's something to be said about having a retractable roof stadium. I think every stadium should have a retractable roof. I'll be quite honest. I know baseball is meant to be played outdoors, but for things like this, especially World Series, the last thing you want is something causing you to get your pitchers out of sync. But if there is a rain delay, I think it probably benefits the Braves more than it benefits the Astros, because the Braves, with Morton going down, which was unfortunate, we hated seeing that. And then, Max Fried just not really pitching great at all to the Urquidy outstanding outing. And the Braves pen was spent in those two games. It was like they won, and then the Astros just came and took it back. And I was at that game, Jake. There was not a single moment that the Astros did not have momentum in that game. And that was the difference from game 1 to game 2. Game 1, the Astros never had momentum. Game 2, the Braves never had momentum. So really it's going to be a game of cat and mouse. Who can come out hot first?
Yeah, these first two games were basically the same thing in reverse, right? The Braves grabbed control early in game 1 and never relinquished it, and the Astros did it in game 2. So I think that's going to be the key. We talked about it, on the crossover podcast previewing the series. I think most of these games are going to be decided in the first 3 innings, which offense gets out to the hot start and can capitalize against the other team's starting pitcher. So, that was really my biggest key coming into the series, really for the Braves, because I thought they had the advantage starting pitching wise. That's obviously been evened out now with Charlie Morton going down. And as you said, Fried not being great out of the gate in game 2. He did settle down and was able to save the bullpen a bit there. And hopefully that gives him a little bit of confidence when he goes back out, because, he retired like 10 straight. I don't know the last time the Astros have been retired 10 straight before with that offense, but I think that might help him a little bit. But yeah, as far as the first 2 games, they were basically mirror images of each other, the same thing, one for one team, one for the other.
All right. This is not Kyle Tucker. We are not interviewing Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker is the guy on the Locked On Rays podcast. Okay. I don't know who Jake looks more like. I don't think it's Kyle Tucker. I can't put my finger on it, but he looks like a baseball player for sure. Just not necessarily Kyle Tucker. So
no, not Kyle Tucker.
How about
Braves legend?
Yeah. Or how about Jordan Schaefer, Braves legend?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would say.
You remember him?
Schaefer.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's supposed to be the next coming, but never actually happened.
Yeah, never happened. Hey, Jake, I got a ball at game 2 thrown up to me by the Braves. I was yelling random 80s Braves legends. I was yelling Dale Murphy and Bruce Suter's beard is legendary, and they threw me a baseball. Yeah. So nice. That was pretty cool.
I didn't know if you're going to be one of those guys where you got the Braves hat on and, asking for the ball, and then you switch back to the Astros.
No, but there is a kid, and I think the kid's name is Jake. He has a hat for every team. He has a hat for every team, and he gets a ball every time from the opposing team.
Smart.
Okay, so talking about Charlie Morton's injury, I know that he's already a legend around the Houston area because of what he did in Game 7 of the World Series, 2017 World Series. He's got to be a legend around Atlanta now for striking out Jose Altuve with a broken leg, essentially. But who replaces him in the rotation? Who have they talked about that yet?
Well, the answer is nobody replaces Charlie Morton, right? He's a Braves Game 1 starter. When you start Charlie Morton in Game 1, you're expecting to get, 2 solid starts out of him. You know what you're going to get, solid 5 innings pitched, keep your team in the game. And he's somebody that if it does go 7, you could even count on him coming back in short rest. So you're not going to replace that. They did bring up Tucker Davidson to replace him on the roster. Tucker Davidson, a young kid, had some good outings back in June and then went down with a forearm strain. Was just making his way back. He made a rehab start at the end of October. Again, don't know how much you can really count on him to give you length. It's definitely an issue because the Braves are going to have to cover a lot of innings in games 4 and 5 with arms that they just frankly do not trust. So it's a big blow to this team. It was good that, they went ahead and won Game 1 with Charlie Morton starting. They had to really extend the bullpen. It's never good to lose and to get blown out, but they really didn't have the bullpen to keep up in Game 2 after what they had to do in Game 1. So in some way, it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise if you were going to lose Game 2 to lose that way so that they didn't have to run Minter and Matzik and Jackson and Smith back out there. You give them 2 days rest because they're really going to be counting on them with these 3 games in a row back in Atlanta.
Yeah, and that's where I think the Astros really have the advantage here just because they are a more complete team, I think, even though they have Lance McCullers, who is on the shelf. And Framber Valdez, I believe, is going to fix things. He came out. He was highly charged. I was talking to someone who was at Game 1, and they were sitting right behind the bullpen watching Framber warm up. They said in warm-ups, he was bouncing pitches to the catcher. He was not even hitting the mitt. His curveball was off, and he said, we looked at each other and said, Framber's not going to do good today. He didn't have his stuff going into the game. And so for him, I think it was a mental breakdown. It was a mechanics thing. And again, we talked to Mike Stanton from AT&T Sportsnet telling us about the difficult delivery he has. So you're going to have that. But what we saw out of him and Luis Garcia, whenever they had bad starts, they came back with a really strong start. And when this team starts hitting, watch out. They are dangerous. And we've got to keep Soler in the park. That guy can absolutely mash. He is a machine. Like, is he human? Because he looks like he's part Terminator. The guy is a beast.
He had two swings last night that very nearly changed that entire game. In that first inning, he got a hanger, one of the few mistakes that Urquidy made, and he just missed it. And Urquidy came back on the next pitch to strike him out. And then he had the ball later in the game that Michael Brantley caught in the corner that I thought was gone off the bat, but stayed in the park there. So, yeah, Solaire's been very key in getting him back. We'll see what happens going to Atlanta, though, because, he's pretty much the Yordan Alvarez. He's got some defensive deficiencies, but you got to keep that bat in the lineup.
Yeah, so definitely. And looking at the Astros bullpen compared to the Braves bullpen, I think they're pretty comparable. I would say that the Astros bullpen has been a little bit better so far, but it kind of makes you want to give the Built Bar award to the Astros bullpen so far. So, Brett, tell us a little bit about the Built Bar.
Yeah, so the Built Bar relief pin or bullpen, I'm going to say it, of the night goes to the Houston Astros, sponsored by Built Bar. They're delicious. They have 9 amazing flavors. They have Built Puffs. They have this Built Kingdom. I'm just telling you, the sky's the limit with these guys. And they don't even play with these Built Bars because they're healthy. They're great tasting. They don't taste like chalk protein powder stuffed in some like random chocolate sauce. It's good stuff. 17 to 18 grams of protein. Ranging from 130 to 180 calories, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs, all tasty, all healthy. Order today and get the grasshopper cookie or raspberry or whatever you like. Built Bar is the official protein bar of USA track and field teams, Division I football teams, and so much more, even Locked On hosts across the nation. Go to Built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15 for 50% off your order. Use the promo code LOCKED15. Go to Built.com. They are the best bar in the biz.
All right, so let's go and talk a little bit about the bullpens before we look at the rotation so far. I guess we can look at Fried. Somebody wants to talk about Fried in a second, but what do you think about the Astros bullpen from your first impression, Jake?
Yeah, it's a solid bullpen. I was really impressed with what Odorizzi did in game 1. I know he's been struggling a little bit there, but he struck out 5 batters in 3 innings. So that was pretty impressive. Maybe the most impressive performance that we've seen so far. But we also haven't seen relievers from either team pitch in what I would call a high leverage situation yet, because both these games have kind of been blowouts. But I agree. I think both bullpens are pretty even. Matzik has been unbelievable. I think he's the best of all the relievers in this series. But Will Smith can be gotten to. Luke Jackson can be had at times. AJ Minter has been unbelievable in the postseason as well. You saw what he did in game 1 coming in to relieve Charlie Morton. So for me, Minter and Matzik are the best two for the Braves. We got a look at Javier last night. I know he's become kind of a weapon out of the bullpen for you guys. He looked really good. Presley coming in the 8th was interesting decision. I thought it was a smart decision by Dusty Baker with the middle of the Braves lineup coming in, and he did solid work. I thought the Braves had some pretty good at bats against him, but overall he was able to get him out. So yeah, I think the bullpens are really even. Again, I think it was. I don't want to ever say losing game was good, but it was great. It was good that the Braves didn't have to extend their big guys in game 2. Because like I said, they're really going to be counted on these next 3 games, because I don't know how much length you're going to get out of Ian Anderson. He's had some really good starts in the postseason, had some really bad starts in the postseason. So, you could be getting into your bullpen in the 3rd, 4th inning again, and then you're already having 2 bullpen games in games 4 and 5. So they're going to really have to rely on Minter and Matzik to go multiple innings in these games.
Yeah, I agree. Ian Anderson is the guy that y'all are looking to. Going into this series, he was the 3rd guy, right? That's why he's going 3rd. Now you're having to depend on Ian Anderson, like you said. And it's literally a game-to-game thing. I think we proved that. I think we proved momentum does not carry over necessarily from game to game, rather what happens in that game. I do think the crowd is going to be in it, and I think it's the Astros' job to make sure they steal the excitement out of the crowd and score early. Jose Altuve said we needed to score early. Jose Altuve is not just on the all-time postseason home run list. He's on the all-time 2+ extra base hits in a game. I believe he's got 9, 7, 8, or 9. I just looked at the graphic before we went on, and he is getting key hits when he needs them. He's not hitting for average right now, but he's hitting when it counts, and that place was rocking. Jake, it was palpable. You could grab the excitement out of the air, and it was very, very tangible.
Yeah, no, you can hear it on TV too, and everybody's been talking about it, even with the roof open, how loud it was there. But it's going to be that excitement's going to be there in Truist Park as well. I mean, the Braves have not hosted a World Series game in 22 years. Tickets for this game, the cheapest ticket for this game right now is $1,100. I was trying so hard to get in there when tickets went on sale, and it was just they were going flying off the shelves. And now you try to get one on the secondary market, you're gonna have to take out your mortgage because it's just everybody's excited about this. So the excitement level is definitely going to be there in Atlanta. I don't think it's going to affect the Astros in any way because they've been in this position. They have players that have been there, done that. But I do think it will juice up the Braves a little bit, hopefully in a good way, and have them playing, with their crowd behind them, have them playing energetic, exciting baseball. So I do think that will be a factor. Again, not necessarily against the Astros players, but I think it will uplift the Braves players a little bit because that place is going to be crazy on Friday and really all weekend.
Thoughts by Dusty.
All right. So while we're on the topic of bullpen, I want to bring up what Dusty Baker said about Maton today. He said the straw for Maton trade wasn't a popular move. It wasn't popular in the city or popular on the team, but sometimes the moves work out. And that's what happened in this case. He's become one of the Astros' more reliable relievers. He's helped the Astros not only versus the Braves, but versus the White Sox, and he's become one of the Astros' more reliable relievers. And so, if you had to go back in time and tell Astros fans, tell Eric Huysman to not freak out every time you see this guy struggle. It's a situation because I know everybody was like, why did we trade our center fielder? Well, I think we're seeing why, because we had Jose Siri, we had Chas McCormick, we had Jake Myers, and we had a whole bunch of center fielders, but we didn't have enough relievers. So now we're seeing what James Click did, and then you see Yimi Garcia doing well. Kendall Graveman has looked like a totally different pitcher. So I think the Astros bullpen, especially the back end of the bullpen, and I know he's not technically in back end, but I'm gonna put Christian Javier in the back end of the bullpen, and heck, Jake, if you're okay with it, I'll put Jake Orizzi at the back end of the bullpen. If you said it, he did pretty good. So I would say the Astros bullpen is doing pretty darn good this postseason. And so I would, yes, the Braves that y'all have like maybe three to four, maybe good relievers. I think the Astros are pretty deep. They may have one weak reliever, but I would say I would trust most of the relievers. The only guy I would not trust right now, I don't know why, and that's probably Dusty Baker's favorite guy, is Brooks Raley.
So, hey, here's the thing. I know this is kind of off of the relief pitching thing, but you mentioned Miles Straw, and he was interviewed on MLB Network, and they asked him what he thought about if he was watching the World Series. He said, oh, yeah. He said, even though I would love to be there, he said, the Astros are still my guys. I'm still really good friends with them. He said, I'm going to be in Atlanta, and I'm going to be at one of the games, if not all the games, and I'm going to be rocking. He goes, I've got all their jerseys. He goes, I'm probably going to be rocking a Brantley or a Tucker jersey at the game, because they asked him if he was going to pull a Juan Soto, kind of like he did whenever he went to go watch Trey Turner and Max Scherzer play in the, I believe, the wild card or ALDS. And so, Miles Straw is going to be there, and he's going to be there in attendance. I just thought that was neat, but that is a great thing to bring up about Maton, Eric, because I was one of the people, that really struggled to accept him because it seemed like he got put in tough situations, and they said, oh, he's got swing and miss stuff, and every time someone swung on his stuff, they seemed to hit the long ball on him. But everything averages out, and I think at the end, this Astros bullpen weathered a lot of storms, and it made them better for it. I think that's why they're performing so well now. The struggles came and they worked out of them, and that's what professional pitchers do.
Yeah. So Jake, ADI Music wants to know who's going to be starting outfield without the DH. Who's going to be starting outfield? Is it going to be Pearls or Soler? And I guess he means Jocktober.
Yeah. No, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. I think you have to keep Soler's bat in the lineup. Jock has really cooled off a lot lately. He had some big hits earlier in the postseason, but Soler's just had the better at bats. And I mean, they're both a threat to go deep every time, but Soler's just been swinging the bat better right now. Again, just missed a couple of home runs in game 2, had the big home run to start off the first game. I think he needs to stay in that leadoff spot. I don't care if it's a righty or lefty on the mound, just because he has that ability to just take you deep and start a game off like that. I mean, they've called him Ronald Acuna Jr. light for a while because he basically does what Ronald Acuna Jr. does, just doesn't have the speed, obviously doesn't have the defense, but he gives you the power. He even gives you a really good at bat. Most people, in Kansas City, he didn't really do that. But since coming over to Atlanta, I mean, he's had some really good at bats. You've even seen it in the series. Well, he'll fall behind, but then work it 3-2, work it in a 3-2 count. So, I mean, I like Soler in there. I think he's the better option right now. So I think he definitely stays in the lineup in Atlanta.
So how have the Braves been structuring playing time throughout the whole regular season without the DH? Because you traded for the Braves traded for a whole lot of outfielders, and they didn't have room for all of them.
Well, Eddie Rosario was injured when they traded for him, so he actually didn't even start playing for the Braves until like middle of August. So didn't have to worry about it till then. But and Jock, kind of like right now in the postseason, Jock was hot when the Braves first traded for him, and then he cooled off about the time Eddie Rosario came back. So that put Jock on the bench, and then Jock started off the postseason hot, and then Soler got COVID, so Jock was inserted there. So that's why I think Soler will be the one to get it and put Jock on the bench. And honestly, the Braves need him because they need Jock off the bench. I think that's where he's very valuable to come in a key situation. You can kind of pick his spot, where he can have a big impact.
That's the same thing with guys like Castro, who is coming off the bench. I know Castro and Jock Peterson are two different players, but he has been that. And one of the things I noticed, I was telling Eric, I was observing in batting practice. Now, it's batting practice. Okay, guys are going to crush the ball in batting practice, but no one was hitting the ball harder than Aledmys Diaz and Jorge Soler in BP. And Aledmys Diaz was up there mashing like he was Pujols and Trout combined. Like he was blistering the ball. And I really think that the Astros need to be able to go to him in key pinch hit situations, especially with the pitcher batting, will give Diaz. And watch out for Diaz. He's going to make some surprise contributions and hits because he's chomping at the bit to get out there. He is hitting the ball very angrily in practice. And I think the last time we saw that, he went on a tear when we went to San Francisco and he got real hot. So this is the time of the year where I think he could get hot along with the other hitters. That would spell disaster, I think, for the Braves pitching.
Yeah. So, Jake, I'm looking at Ian Anderson's postseason starts, and is it true that he's 3-0 with a 1.47 ERA?
I'm guessing that's his overall postseason career. He was very good in the postseason last year. I think his first two starts in the postseason last year were shutouts, and then I think maybe he had a rough one against the Dodgers. This postseason, I don't think he's been quite as good. He
has a 2.25 ERA. He's 1-0 with 12 strikeouts this year.
Okay.
Yeah, his last start in LA, he was throwing the ball really well, but his spot came up in a key moment, and Snitker decided to pinch hit for him. I did not agree with it, but that's why I'm not a manager, because the pinch hitter got a hit. It led to a 3-run homer, and the Braves won the game. So yeah, it was kind of just one of those situations, which I'm interested to see how that plays out, as we go to Atlanta and you have to worry about the pitcher spot when that comes up.
National League ball. It's like
the way it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, you have to bet on when you're going to hit for the pitcher.
It makes you actually have to manage and make game plans and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh! Remember we used to be in the National League. So.
Yeah, it's like going to betonline.ag and finding the right pick, the right bet. So talk to me about that, Brett.
Well, okay, we're back and better than ever in a new web interface to start the basketball season off right. More props, odds, lines than ever before. You've got on one side the Houston Rockets. You've got on the other side the Atlanta Hawks. Like, what are they going to do? How are things going to shape up? Well, if you want to know and you want to bet on all the games and their top scorers, go to BetOnline. It's the number one spot for basketball and football action. Head to their new website, their updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use a promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right, guys, continue making the Locked On Astros your first listen every day, whether that's on YouTube. Keep on subscribing, keep on liking us, and keep on listening to audio version. And if you want to listen to this guy downstairs or down there as well, you can. He is also on YouTube. I think he just started a YouTube channel as well. You can find him at Locked On Braves, and you can listen to both shows on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Listen to Locked On Astros and Locked On Braves, and make us your first listen. You can make him your second listen as well. So I know
if you're a Braves fan, you can make the Locked On Braves your first listen. Hey, just to let you know, Jake, every Braves fan I talked to, I told them about your show. I told them about my show, and I had a couple of people subscribe to your show as well. So I got your back, man.
Thank you.
All right, so I know that Ian Anderson says that he's hoping that the Houston's lack of familiarity with him, they've never seen him pitch, that he hopes that he can use that to his advantage. So I know the Astros are pretty good on the road, and they actually do they sometimes struggle versus the pitchers they've never seen. But what type of pitches does he throw? Because we can tell you pretty much the Astros are a good fastball hitting team.
Yeah, that's what I love about the World Series and what I hate about interleague play. These two teams, I don't think they've played since 2017. So there's, no familiarity between these two teams, and you kind of just have to figure it out as we go. And, I think that was part of the issue with the Braves hitters against Urquidy, is they just, weren't ready for that, didn't really know what he was throwing up there, and they looked confused at a lot of times against him. So, again, hopefully Ian Anderson's right. I hope that we see the same thing with the Dodgers hitters, but his best pitch is his changeup. And when that pitch is on, it is second best changeup in all of baseball behind Devin Williams. It is a really good changeup, but he does have to establish that fastball up first in order for it to be effective. And he really tries to get it, hitters to swing at it out of the zone. And I know the Astros don't chase a lot. So it's going to be key for him to get ahead with that fastball and then be able to work off that changeup. When he struggles because he doesn't get those swings and misses on the changeup down, and he gives a lot of walks. So that's the key for him. He wasn't great in that in his first postseason outing, much better in his second postseason outing against the Dodgers. So that's really always the key for Ian Anderson. Can he get ahead in the count and get hitters to chase at his changeup down in the zone?
And I think that's the key for Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman has been somewhat cold at the plate. And I think if we are looking at first pitch strikes that are fastballs, he's going to have to ambush a lot of these counts early, because he does not do well with the curve. And Jordan as well. Jordan, you give him 2 strikes and you throw him a curveball low and away, he's swinging at it almost every time. And so these guys have got to jump on these pitches quick to make sure they have the advantage and don't let Ian Anderson or any other pitcher comes in get comfortable.
All right. So Jay Roberts wants to know if any Brave alums are throwing out the first pitches.
Haven't heard. I would imagine Chipper Jones will probably throw out a first pitch in one of these games. He's always a good candidate for that. John Smoltz is there for the Fox broadcast team, so maybe he throws out a pitch as well, but I think you can definitely count on at least Chipper Jones, probably Dale Murphy, for throwing out one of these first pitches.
Yeah. So let's go and talk a little bit about the 3 games in Atlanta. I know then we can maybe meet together on the travel day and go ahead and go over the last 2 games, hopefully, unless the Astros just take care of business and
unless they just like all 3 and then Eric doesn't get to use his ticket on game 6.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But I want to be there when they clinch, hopefully. But
Dude, I want you to be there. I want you to be there because I'm totally jealous. Standing room only tickets are already triple what I paid for an individual seat. So
right. So let's go and take a look at the 3 games in Atlanta. Jake, I'll start with you since it's your home territory. How do you see these 3 games playing out?
Yeah, so my game plan for the Braves all along in this series, in order for them to win, was to split in Houston. Check. They did that and win 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. When I said that, I thought Charlie Morton was going to be starting game 5. That definitely throws a wrench into things. It really makes this game 3 very pivotal for the Braves with Ian Anderson on the mound. If they don't win game 3, it's really going to be hard for them to win 2 of 3 games at home here, because the way I look at games 4 and 5 now, unless you just get a miraculous performance out of somebody unexpected, which you can't bank on that, they essentially have to choose which game do they want to go after in game 4 or 5. Which game do they want to throw their best relievers out there and go for it? Because that's pretty much the situation they're in. Because like you said, they have 4 guys in their bullpen that they trust, and Minter, Jackson, Matzik, and Smith. Outside of that, Snitker does not really trust anybody else. Maybe Jesse Chavez, as he just throws 90 miles per hour up there and hopes that the other team doesn't crush it. But those are really the 4 guys that he's trust. And so in one of these bullpen games, if the Braves score early and get an early lead, I think you're going to see Snitker go all in, kind of like he had to do in game 1, and get multiple innings out of Minter and Matzik and Jackson and try to just really go after that game. But again, you kind of have to choose, because you can't do that in back-to-back games like that. So it really makes 4 and 5 a crapshoot for me. I think you at least try to split those, and that's why it makes game 3 very pivotal for the Braves. They have to get a good start out of Ian Anderson. They have to get at least 5 solid innings out of him, 2 runs or less, keep the offense in the game, and then turn it over to those big 4 in the back of the bullpen. So again, I'm not as confident of them winning 2 at 3 at home now as I was, when the series started, and I thought it'd be Anderson in 3 and Morton in game 5, but I still think they can get it done. They played very well at home. I think they're undefeated at home in this postseason, so they play really well there. Again, the crowd is going to be really loud. They're going to be very energetic. Hopefully the team can build off of that. So I'll say they still do win 2 or 3 at home. They'll win game 3 and then one of game 4 or 5.
Wow, man, you have a lot of confidence in your team, but I think you've laid out your case very aptly. It does make sense what you're saying, and it is going to hinge on these bullpen games because they are going to have to play Rays baseball. You hate to hear an Atlanta team doesn't want to hear that they need to play Tampa style baseball because y'all are so close to each other. I know the whole Florida-Georgia rivalry and everything like that. So I think the Astros with Luis Garcia going on the mound, Zach Greinke, those are the keys. I think the second factor is your key guys keep getting hits in key moments. You don't have to have a 3-4 hit performance out of Altuve. You don't have to have a 4-hit performance out of Alvarez. You just have to have 2 or 3 players get at least 2 hits. They've got to score with runners in scoring position. If the starters can do their job, it saves the bullpen. Christian Javier can be solid. Matan can be solid. You don't have to worry about Rayleigh if you're worried about putting him against anyone other than a left-handed batter. Stanek is out there pitching with a lot of moxie right now. So you've got a lot of confidence, and I think the Astros can build on that. The Braves, I believe, and I meant this when I said it, that when the Astros won game 2, that now I believe the Braves' backs are against the wall, not just because the Astros won, but because of the factors and hills that the Braves have to overcome. I see the Astros easily taking 2 of 3 in this series. In Atlanta, going back to Houston and clinching. I see them clinching in game 6 still, but it's very possible the Braves come out hot and they go to a game 7. But regardless, it comes back to Minute Maid Park with the Astros up with 3 wins under their belt.
Let me say one other thing too here. If the Braves somehow drop, or I shouldn't say somehow, the Astros could definitely do this, but if the Braves lose these next 2 games, I think you have to see Max Fried in game 5 on short rest. And you never know how that's going to go. I think he only threw like 86 pitches in game 2. So, hopefully he'll still be rested enough to do that. But if they do drop these next 2 games, you'll see Max Fried in game 5. I believe you have to with your season on the line. If not, if they win one of those next 2, I feel really good about Max Fried in a game 6. Again, he wasn't sharp in that first inning. Things really got away from him in that second inning. A lot of it not his fault. You had Gurriel beat the shift, which I don't know why we're shifting on Gurriel. Stop doing that. You had Jose Siri with the dribbler, and then you had the defensive miscues. So Things really just unraveled on him in that second. He really settled down after that and was very good. So I feel very confident about him. If the Braves can, get to game 6 with, either down 3-2 or up 3-2, I feel really good about Max Fried his next time out. But yeah, again, I agree with you. The Braves are a little bit back up against the wall. Again, I think this game 3 is, I don't want to say must win, but it's very crucial for the Braves if they're going to stay in this series.
All right. I'm going to kind of go with Brett, a little bit different. I'm going to pinpoint that game 4 is the one the Astros are probably going to lose. I think that, I mean, I don't know who you're going to have the Braves are going to start, but
We don't either.
I just think the Zach Greinke game is the game that where you're going to have a lot of relievers coming in and out. I think that's the game where you're going to have the iffiness. And so I think game 4 is the one where I think the Astros could potentially lose. I think Luis Garcia is going to go out, especially after his last game. He's going to go out there and dominate like he did against the Red Sox. I just think that he's discovered his moxie again. And I think Framber Valdez in game 5, I think that I think that after his first game in the Red Sox series, he's like, oh crap, I need to fix this. And he fixed it. And so whether it's nerves, whether it's like, I don't know what happened. I swore I saw a line, like he drew a line in front of the game 6, and where he kind of used that to kind of guide his pitching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just seemed like he was just a much more focused pitcher in game 6. So I just think that we will see a different Framber Valdez in the game 5 in that situation. So I think that the Astros will probably win game 3 and game 5. The only iffiness I have is what happens in game 4, because nothing against a future Hall of Famer and Zach Greinke. There's just so many question marks. Like, okay, if he only lasts 1 inning, 2 innings, what happens from there? Because as we've seen in these playoffs, the team that, I mean, granted, game 1, we can't really look at that situation, but the team that has a starter that goes only X amount of innings, that team normally loses, except for game 1 of the World Series.
You know, one of the things that World Traveler mentions here is she says, if one of our faithful listeners, Jake, if the Astros do win game 3, won't it be the first time in this postseason that the Braves have not had the lead in the series?
Yeah, I saw Fox Sports tweet that the other day. They have their facts wrong. The Braves,
is that wrong?
They lost the first game of the postseason to Corbin Burns in the Milwaukee Brewers.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I saw Fox Sports tweet that out. So
interesting.
Understandable why somebody would read that and think that, but they were wrong. The Braves lost the first game of the postseason.
Okay. Well, that, you know, hey, I was just going off of what they were saying, but regardless, game 3, I think is key. Game 3, both teams are going to go in. They both have the same goal. They want to win the title. There's only one title. You can only have one winner and one loser. And if there's any team on the National League side that's going to grind and going to not give up, it's going to be the Braves. I mean, guys like Ozzie Albies, guys like Freddie Freeman, you know, I mean, you've got some quality major league players on your side of the diamond, respectable guys that are good for the game. And that's what I love about the Astros and the Braves matchup, is not only is it the classic throwback matchup that Eric's talked about, you know, this leading up to this whole series, but it's just what the Braves bring. They've got a great clubhouse. They do baseball right. Astros got a great clubhouse. They do baseball right, despite what the haters may think. And I'm just hoping that we have some good games, that they're competitive games, that they're fun games. Of course, we want the Astros to come out on top.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know that you're going to get many good games. I think a lot of them are going to go the same way games 1 and 2.
Well, true.
But and there's nothing wrong with that, because it's exciting for one side and not for the other. So it's exciting for, you know, half the people. But I still think a lot of these games are going to be decided early on. You'll probably have one close one in there, but I think it goes back to the fact that both of these back end, the bullpens are very good. So the key, again, like I started out talking about on this podcast, is who can get that early lead, who can get going against the team's starter, opener, whatever you want to call it. I think that's going to be very key in this series.
Yeah,
but we do have some good games in there.
Yeah, game 1 was like this for the Astros fans.
Yeah.
And game 2 was
like this for Braves. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was, I'm telling you, man, it was absolutely insane. At one point, I looked up to see if we had closed the roof because it was that loud. Like I said, I was like, this is insane. So,
yeah, I just hope that it comes back to Houston, because that means that the Astros won at least one game in Atlanta. And so it would just
You're
be
being
awesome.
too nice. You're being too nice. They'll win 2 games.
One. I mean, I said at
least.
So
No, come on, Eric. You can't be too nice, man. We got to put the women and children to bed. We're going looking for dinner, man. This is hunting season, boy.
All right, I'm looking forward to right now hearing the oh. But I'm sure after hearing that for 3 games, I'm be like, this is as bad as Sweet Caroline. Is it over yet?
Yeah, because if they're doing it, that means something good is going for the Braves. So you don't want to hear that.
Right.
right.
So, but it goes back to old days playing and going back to 90s and early 2000s. And I miss that rivalry between the Braves and the Astros. And that's a bad thing about being in American League. Yes, we get to play the Yankees, the Red Sox, and we have a whole new set of enemies, so to speak. But
We own the Yankees. I mean, sorry, the Astros own the Yankees. The Astros own the Red Sox.
yeah. So anyway, any final thoughts, Jake, before we end the podcast about anything Braves related?
No, I mean, the only thing I've talked a lot about the pitching because I think it's key, and I haven't talked a lot about the offense, mainly because I have faith in this offense. I think this Braves offense is going to score runs. That doesn't concern me quite as much as the pitching side of it does, and that's why I focus so much on the pitching. But a lot of it's going to come down to, can the Braves outslug the Astros? Because the Astros are going to score too. We all know that offense is too good, but I think this Braves offense is really good as well. And so some of these games might be, can they win 8-6? You may see some games like that. And I think this Braves offense has shown that they can do that. I think they're very good up and down the lineup. I mean, Dansby Swanson's going to be hitting 8th. He had 27 home runs this year. I mean, this offense has a lot of power. They rely on the home run a lot. So, are they going to be able to get those 2 or 3 run homers to really swing the momentum? That's going to be key. They're not a team like what makes the Astros offense better than the Braves, in my opinion, is the fact that they can string hits together like they did in the second inning of game 2. I think it was all 5 singles in that inning. The Braves are looking for a walk, a bloop, and a blast or something like that in order to generate their offense a lot of times. So, again, I didn't talk a lot about the offense, but I do have a lot of confidence in the Braves to be able to keep up and keep pace with the Astros and score some runs.
Yeah, the Astros definitely need some more production from Alex Bregman. And I know that this is a guy that has some struggles in the postseason, but he's also had some big moments. And I think the Astros need those big moments. Yeah, Jose Altuve is not having his typical big postseason, but he also has those big moments. He has those 2 game-tying home runs. He also has that big double and home run game from yesterday. So he has some big moments. We're still waiting for those big moments from Alex Bregman. That's coming, I would think, and I think Game 3 would be the best time for him to break out of this. And so we'll see. Brett?
Well, I got some new specs, and I'm looking into the future, and I see the Astros coming away from Atlanta with 2 of 3 wins. And I think they're going to come home, and I think they're going to clinch Game 6, and our own Eric Huysman is going to be there to celebrate. And I'm going to be jealous 100%, but loving it for you, wishing I was there. So let's go Astros. Jake, it's been great. We've gotten a ton of compliments on your analysis, on your insight. Definitely valuable to the Locked On family. If you're a Braves fan, make him your first listen. Make Astros, if you're a Locked On Astros fan, make us your first listen. And remember, the Locked On Astros and the Locked On Braves network is here for you, your daily Astros and Braves podcast.
All right, subscribe to us on YouTube. Jake, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll be talking to you tomorrow about another Astros victory over the Atlanta Braves. I believe that's what you call your team. And we'll talk to you tomorrow on another Locked On Astros podcast. Go Astros!